welcome everybody to Mindful Mondays. I am your host, Laura Cross. I created Mindful Mondays to help people be mindful about their self-care and putting themselves first and taking care of themselves. Too many people think that it's selfish, but we really need to be mindful and continually practice to put ourselves first and protect ourselves. And I am so excited to have this beautiful lady with me today. She is coming to us all the way from the United Kingdom. She's originally from the Caribbean islands of St. Vincent and Grenadines, another beautiful place to be from. But not only is she beautiful, but she is one of the bravest ladies I know. She has bounced back from infidelity, betrayal, and loss. And she has been brave enough to share her story, her lessons, and more to help and she has on a mission to help over 10,000 women to know that they can be happy again. So I am excited to bring to you today Delia Gould, all the way from the UK, and be happy again. Delia, maybe you can set the scene for everybody, because that's a lot, because it wasn't only an infidelity, but it was betrayal, it was loss. Maybe kind of fill in the story for people so they understand.
Laura, I'm so excited to be here. And just to tell you about what happened, a bit about what happened to me. I was married for over 10 years. We had our own home, we had our own business, and we had two wonderful children. We had a very good relationship. We even had a date night weekly. Tuesdays was our time that we had set aside. This is our time after work. We're going to go out, whether to the restaurant, to the beach, or something, and spend some time together. We had some lovely time together. And it all changed when I saw the dynamics between my husband and my best friend began to change. All of a sudden, they were spending a lot more time together. They seemed to be way too close for comfort. And whenever I would question them about it, because I'm the kind of person, if something is bothering me, I talk about it and I get it out in the open. And whenever I talk to them about it, I was being accused of being too jealous and trying to break up our friendship, because we all went to the same church. My best friend was married to my husband's cousin, and we all went to church together, and we were very, very, very close. And when that change began to happen, it took over 3 years for a confession. He finally confessed to me about the relationship, about the affair. And I can tell you, when that happened, it's like my whole world fell apart, because we had been together for so long and we had such a good relationship. And when I got married, I never got married thinking I'm going to get divorced or I'm going to, I got married thinking we're going to grow old together and live together, until death do us part, as the vow says.
Yep.
Right. But that is not, sadly, that's not the case for a lot of people. And it happened so that when he confessed to me, I broke down. I wasn't sure what to do. And but one of the things, I did not jump to say, okay, I need a divorce. No, I told him, okay, let us try and work things together. You definitely have to stop seeing this secretary, because my best friend was the secretary for our business. So I told him, okay, well, she could no longer be the secretary. And and he refused. He's like, he didn't want to do that. It's like he wanted to have her and me. And I told him, I said, no, that's not gonna happen. It's either me alone or I am not in the mix at all. And eventually, they he just left after I did not agree with his decision or whatever to keep this lady on. And I'm like, if it was the opposite way, would you have allowed that? Would you have wanted me to keep that guy around still, going to work every day around this person? How would you have felt about that? But he didn't, that didn't concern him. And I just had to just let him go. And it was quite a devastating experience for me. And the thing is that it took 3.5 years for approximately that for him to finally confess that yes, they were having an affair. And I tell you, I just broke down, and it seemed as though he just wanted to, you know, have his cake and eat it still, if you know, have his
Yeah,
cake
yeah,
and
have their cake and eat it too. Yeah, and there's a fine line between, jealousy or being suspicious. You started seeing some signs and some differences that said that this was more than, a friendship. And like you said, this is your best friend for one, someone that we would normally confide in to talk to when we have problems, but that you weren't able to do.
I wasn't.
She went to your church. She worked for your husband.
Mhm.
So maybe share some of the signs and his, I don't know, was it just attitude or thing? Because I know a lot of times when that happens, like you said, there's different signs or things that start to say that something is seriously not right.
Yeah. So one of the first signs that I noticed was that he started to take his phone everywhere with him. He started everywhere he goes downstairs, he has to take the phone. He comes upstairs, even to the toilet. He's going to the toilet, he has to take the phone with him. And that was not the case before. So that was quite strange for me. And I approached him and I asked him about it. And he was like, well, it's my phone. I can do whatever I want with it. Another sign that I saw, he kept coming home very late at night. And even on weekends, he would find things to go out. That's another sign that I saw. And also, he stopped saying we and us and our, and he started to say mine. This is my car, this is my house. And all of that just showed that, he was like getting away. He was, I felt, you know, him moving away emotionally. He was there with me physically, but emotionally I can see he was going further and further away. And again, he didn't want to go on dates anymore. All of a sudden, I don't feel comfortable going out with you. So
Mhm.
there's a number of things that started to happen. And also, even when I look at the bank account, I saw he was taking out monies without you know informing me and letting me, large sums of monies, because we had one bank account and we would share everything. We never hide anything. So he started to hide away, just taking money from the business bank account without talking to me about it. And I started to wonder, is he like taking money, putting it aside in some account for when he leaves? These things started to come to mind. And it's several things. And they say women have a sixth sense.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. I also know they have a kind of a way sometimes to make you feel like it's all in your head. You're
Yes.
making it up, you're putting it together, or
Yeah.
they start defending the other person and why
Yes.
are you it's like it's
Oh, yes.
you're the one creating it.
Yeah, you raised a very good point there, because every time I spoke about my best friend, he would defend her. He always defending her with everything. That's another sign. He's always defending her. She can't do nothing wrong. So
But yet you do. But you're the one doing something wrong,
I,
and
I
you're supposed to be the
know.
one he's married to.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. That definitely had to take its toll. And like you said, you had, you have two beautiful children, at the time. So it wasn't like this was just you. So it had to have taken a toll, probably not only on you, but your kids. I mean, that's a lot of, I think mental, emotional, and all that stuff do more damage than we realize. Um,
It
it,
does. It does. And from my kids, I had two boys at the time. One was 2, one was 9. The 2-year-old didn't quite understand what was happening, but the 9-year-old, he kind of understand a bit what I was happening. And I remember one afternoon, I was going through his books and I read an essay that he wrote. And in the essay, he was talking about talking to his granny about his problems. So I went to him and I sat him down and I asked him, tell me what problems. And he didn't speak, but he just broke down in tears. I tell you, he was just crying, crying out aloud. And I did not know what to do. I tried to console him. I tried to calm him down. I couldn't. We were outside. He went into the veranda. I went there with him, trying to console him. Then he went into his bedroom. I went in there. I was just following him around, trying to console him. I did not know what to do until I decided I'm going to call a counselor, somebody who I think would be able to help me with this situation. And it's not until I did that and the person spoke to him that he was able to calm down. And, I tell you, it was so difficult for me to see my son in that condition. Right. So, and a lot of people, they don't think about the impact that it has on the children. My son, before that, I don't know if he was trying to be strong for me, but he did not show me any emotions. That's the only, and listen, that's the first and only time that ever happened. And he ever showed emotions in relation to what happened with me and his dad. So children also are being impacted. They might not know how to articulate it, but they're being impacted. I tried to get counseling for him, but he wasn't opening up. So that was quite a traumatic experience for him and myself. And
it
even
had to be heartbreaking and challenging
us,
because
and
you're trying to make sense of it for yourself. So if you can't really make sense or wrap your own mind around it, how do you possibly explain that to a child?
exactly. And I was there trying to be strong. I did not break down. I just tried, holding my emotions. I tried not to break down because I wanted, it to be about him and try and help him. Because me breaking down, I didn't think that was going to help him at the time. And in relation to me, I tell you, during the 3 years and so on that I said that before he actually finally confessed, I was just there suffering in silence. I did not know what to do. To me, I didn't think I had enough proof. Before I had found another thing that told me that something wasn't right is that I found a phone bill, one of his phone bills. And I'm the one who normally paid the bills at the time. And when I saw that phone bill, it had a lot of calls to my best friend. The first call in the morning, the last call at night, and about 15 texts during the day, and multiple calls during the day as well. And I'm like, no, this cannot just be friendship. And when I talk to him, he's like, oh, she's going through something and I'm trying to help her. That's the excuse that he gives me. But all that time I had lost a lot of weight. I wasn't sleeping well, and I remember that there was this day after he had confessed to me. I said, okay, well, it's time. You have to make a decision. Leave her and let us try and work things out. um, and he said he kept her there still at the office. And when I went to the office, there was this day I went to the office, and while I was walking up the stairs, what greeted me? He was sitting at a desk, and he was right close to her ears, whispering something in her ears. And can you imagine seeing that sight after your husband confessed to you that he had an affair with this woman, and then you're going and you're seeing that sight? And I remember when I reached up there, I was like, why is it you have to be so close to her? And he's like, what do you want now? You know, in that aggressive tone of voice. And I tell you, all the emotions and everything is skyrocket. And I did not know what to do. I stood there for a moment like a statue. And without saying anything, I just turned and I started to go back down the stairs. And I remember with every step that I was going down the stairs, that I kept feeling weaker and weaker and weaker. When I opened the door and I walked, well, while I was going down the stairs, there was a pastor in his office. And I wasn't aware of that, but he saw me going down the stairs and he called my name. But to be honest, I was so emotional, I did not even answer him. And he went down after me, but behind me, but I did not realize that he had come down. But when I opened the door, and I all of a sudden I felt like I had no legs, like my legs had just disappeared, and I was about to fall on the concrete ground. And that moment when I felt like my body was falling down to the ground, then I felt somebody holding me up. When I looked, it was the same pastor who had called me. And that moment made me realize that I really needed to change my focus. That was a turning point for me, because I realized in that moment that if I continued on this path, I am not going to be of any good to anybody. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take my focus off of my husband and my best friend, and I'm going to focus on myself and my children. So I started to literally force myself to eat. I remember it was a struggle, but I know I had to do it because I had lost a lot of weight. And I tried to take vitamins to try and build up my body. I started to look at myself. And bit by bit, I started to gain back the weight. And I started to focus on my children. And that was really a turning point for me.
So would you say that's when you started to decide that you needed to make a difference, or that you needed to move and just totally remove yourself from the situation? Because that's not easy either. I know a lot of people would say, well, why leave all that to him and this, but sometimes it's just easier. Oh, nothing about this is easy, so don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's just, it's kind of like you
Yeah,
cut your losses and move on.
as I said before, we had our own home. It was a 4-bedroom home, a very nice home. In fact, it was the biggest home in our neighborhood. And but the thing is, his parents lived very close to us. I can stay in my bedroom and look over and see their house. And he started to take my best friend there by his parents on a weekly basis. So I would look over there and I can see her car is there, his car is there, and I know that they're all over there together. And she would come and drop him home, and these kind of things. It reached the point where I felt like I was going to go mad emotionally. It came like too much for me in that environment. And I realized, to protect my psyche, to protect my mental well-being, that I needed to move away from that environment. And sometimes that's what we have to do. Look, I can even mention Prince Harry and Meghan. Look at what they gave up. They give up their position and everything to protect their mental health. And to me, there wasn't anything in this world that was worth more than my mental health. To me, it is very, very important that you protect your mental health. And I decided to leave. And I remember when I left, a lot of people were like, Delia, are you going to leave that house for her to go in? And these kind of things. But I knew the reason why I left. And I knew that if I didn't leave, I would have gone insane. And I wanted to have a sane mind for myself and to be able to take care of my children, because I didn't want anybody else to take care of my children. I wanted to be the one there to look after them and take care of them. So protecting your mental health, it is so important. It is very important. And a lot of people, they don't think about that. They stay in certain situations, and maybe because of they have children, but I don't think that's the best thing to do at all, because you stay there for children and then you are suffering emotionally and physically, and you can't even fully be there to take care and look after your children. And also, what women don't understand or realize is that there is an impact, and men as well, the husbands, they need to realize that there is an impact on the children when they see how you're treating their mother. There's a negative, impact on them. It affects them. They might not be able to articulate it, but it does affect them.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really, really important.
Definitely. It's definitely important to protect your own mental health, but you also protected your children's mental health as well, and
Yes.
gave them something to look forward to. We have much more to dive into, and especially about your book, about how you can be happy again. I know we've kind of done the doom and gloom part, but I know there's lessons to be learned that Delia has to share with us, but we do need to break for our sponsors, so we will be right back.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah Stockham, and I'm host of Simply Sarah. Join me Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific on the Achieve TV network for the best energetic tools to elevate your amazing life right here on E360 TV.
And we are back. So Delia, we've covered, for one, that it's important to protect your mental health. And obviously you figured out of knowing when to let go, which wasn't easy because, like you said, it was 3 years. And I'm not to say there's a timetable on that. Just, you fought hard to protect that. And I don't think anybody should judge. Everybody's situation is different. But I do commend you for fighting for as long as you did. And you mentioned some of the signs and stuff that, told you that there was something not right going on. But maybe share some of the lessons that you learned through all of this and how you come about finding your happiness again.
Okay. Well, I have learned a lot, and to answer that question, I'm gonna tell you about my book, because I have taken this bad situation and turned it into something good to try and help others who are facing similar situations, or the same situation. And I have written a book about my experience. It is called You Can Be Happy Again: Bouncing Back After Infidelity, Betrayal, and Loss. It is on Amazon. It is available on Amazon, but you can always email me on You Can Be Happy Again, figure two, at gmail.com, and I can, or visit my website, and I would be able to maybe get an autographed copy for you. One of the things about my book is that on Amazon, it reached #1 for 2 categories: in relationships and in biography. And in this book, the reason why I decided to write this book is to try and help people, because as I said before, I suffered in silence for over 3 years. And I believe that there are a lot of women out there who are suffering in silence. And I decided I'm going to write this book. And in this book, at the end of each chapter, I give some very valuable lessons that I learned as I go through my experience. And there are a number of tips in here on how to find happiness again. And also in my book, it talks about signs. I think I give 12 different signs. I know we touched on a few of them, but I give 12 different signs that I personally saw that made me realize that something was definitely not right. And I'm really on a mission. I'm very passionate about this. My mission is to help 10,000 and more women find happiness again. And listen, I went through that. It was a very dark moment for me. I know it's not an easy thing to be. I always tell people that's a very dark place to be. And but I want to give women hope. You don't have to stay there in the depression and in all that pain and so on. You can be happy again. That's the message that I want to tell people out there. You can find happiness again. And the tips that I give, I can share. One of them: accept the things that you cannot change. I remember at some point I was trying to control my ex and my my husband's behavior, for them not to get too close. I was trying to control that, but that did not work. You can only control yourself and what you do. So accepting the things that you cannot change, it's very, very important in finding happiness again. And we can also talk about, having the right inner circle. Choose your friends very wisely, because there are some people, they might not do it willfully, but in trying to help you, they're saying things that actually makes it worse, you know? And so you have to be very wise as to who you choose to be close to. And one of the things also that I've learned is that you have to take time for yourself. You have to love yourself, and you have to take time for yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you will not be able to take care of others. And one of the things that I noticed as women, as wives, as mothers, we are so busy looking after the home, taking care of the husband, taking care of the children, that we do not take any time out for ourselves. And trust me, that is not good. And one of the things that I started to do, I started to look at myself, and I love to take a nice warm bath, lie in the bath, and listen to my favorite songs. That's one of the things that I love to do. I love to be out in nature. I love to be at the seaside. So I started to do these things, and doing the things that makes you happy is so important. You know, there's a friend of mine, she loves gardening. She said that's very therapeutic for her. So when she feels too stressed, she goes into the garden and she waters the plants and she do these things. So you have to find something that makes you happy. Don't wait on other people to do these things. Don't wait. You love flowers. Don't wait on your husband to give you flowers. You go and buy some flowers for yourself. Do things that makes you happy. And also, we have to understand that we have to take charge. We need to take charge of our happiness. Don't leave it for other people. Don't leave it as an outside force. You do it for yourself. And to me, that is very, very important. Another thing to finding happiness again, and this was very traumatic for me as well, is being able to forgive my ex and my best friend. They hurt me so much, I'm telling you. And I remember there was a time when I went to the supermarket, and this was after he had confessed and we were no longer together. I went to the supermarket with the children and I met them there at the supermarket. And I remember emotions and so on was coming up pressure was coming up inside of me. I was feeling angry, hot, resentful, all the negative feelings were just coming up inside of, that pressure, emotional pressure was there. But I was able to contain myself while I was doing my little shopping. But then when I went into the vehicle and started to drive on my way home, I tell you, I just started to cry uncontrollably. I cried, and my boys, they were sitting in the back and they were wondering, you know, what to do. But I was just there. I couldn't even study them. I was just there trying to drive, and but the tears just wouldn't stop. And I remember when I stopped the vehicle and came out, I just started to vomit. I couldn't control it. It just came up. And there was a friend of mine that was there, and she came and she tried to console me. And I remember I told another friend of mine what I was experiencing whenever I saw them, because all emotions would come up whenever I see them together. And she told me I need to forgive them. Her husband had done the same thing. He was unfaithful to her, and she said, "You need to forgive them." And I was like, "How am I going to forgive these people? Look at what they did." It seemed like such a hard task for me to do. But then, so I realized that I needed divine help, and I'm a Christian, and my faith is one of the things that have kept me through this journey. And I remember I began to pray to God specifically, asking Him to give me the strength that I need so that I can forgive these people. And sometimes at night, I can't sleep. I would just be lying there in bed and I would pray and ask God to help me. And it took me over a month, of all of that drama and praying, trying to get the strength that I needed to do what I had to do in terms of forgiving them. And I remember one day I woke up and I decided I'm gonna call them and I'm gonna uh, tell them that I forgive them. And I called her first. And when I called her, I told her I'm not calling for any argument or to cause any trouble. I'm just calling because I know as a Christian that we need to forgive those who hurt us. And I'm offering my forgiveness to you. I forgive you. And I even went further and I said to her, if there's anything that I have done to you. Which I knew to myself that I hadn't done anything, but just to keep it on a balance, I offered, I said, I went further and said, if there's anything that I did to you, please forgive me. And she said, I forgive you. I can never forget that. And then the next call that I made, I called my husband, and then the same thing that I said to her, I said to him, and he wanted to argue and so on. But I told him, I said, I'm calling to say that I forgive you. And from that time, when I forgive them, the next time that I saw them together, there was no, and I mean no, negative emotions. It was like all gone. And as a result of that, I had an inner peace. Instead of the anger and the rage and the hurt and the pain, I was now feeling an inner peace, all because I chose to forgive. And forgiveness, it benefits the forgiver more than the person who you're forgiving. Trust me, from my experience, I can tell you that. So if there's anybody in your life at this time who you have not forgiven, you need to forgive them. Love yourself enough to forgive them so that you can get rid of all those negative emotions, and you'll be able to move on with your life.
And that's a very good point, because a lot of us don't look at forgiveness that way. A lot of people think if they say they forgive somebody, it means it's okay what happened. And it's not that at all. It's not saying that it's okay what happened, but you have found a way to release it instead of letting it fester. Because like you said, the negative emotions, all of that, it brings on, you give them more power, actually, by festering. And instead of saying, I forgive you. In other words, you have no more. It's kind of a way of saying you have no more power over me. I'm in control.
Exactly. It's not that you're condoning what they did or you like what they did. Or I can even go as further as saying it's not that you're going to go back with the person. Like, for instance, I forgave my best friend, but that did not mean that I went back to be her best friend. You understand? So it's not that you have to go back to the person, because in the long run, you need to protect yourself. You need to protect your psyche. You need to look out for yourself. And if these people are toxic for you and they're not going to help you, just going to cause pain and sorrow and all of this, just, say bye. Leave them there.
And you've done that, though. So you've packed yourself, you've moved back to the United Kingdom, which I believe you have family there, right?
Well, just my children that are here.
Okay.
My family, most of my family are back home, but I do have a very good friend of mine who has been very, very instrumental and very helpful to me in this situation. Another best friend, but she's not like that. She's not like the other one.
A true best friend, not like the last one.
I did not allow this situation to make me write off everybody, because there are good people out there. It's finding them, being able to find them. That is key. Because as you go through life, you go through certain problems, you need somebody who you can confide in and talk to get that out. Because if you leave it in, then it's not going to be good for you. That reminds me of this lady that I heard of. She was married, and her husband kept cheating on her, and she stayed in the marriage for over 15 years, and she wasn't the person to go and talk to anybody and try and get help, or she just kept everything inside, and eventually she died of cancer. People don't realize that stress is a trigger for cancer, and you have to look after yourself, so and take care of your mental health, not just your physical body. we need to take care of our mental health as well, our mental well-being, so that we can be the best that we can be and prevent certain sicknesses and illnesses in our lives. So knowing when to let go, this lady, she did not let go. He eventually left her, you know.
Mhm.
She tried to stay there, but he eventually left. And in the end, it wasn't good for her. So knowing when to let go, that is very, very important.
And know that you have control. It's only you that can change it. Because I've known people like that too, that their spouse may not have been physically abusive, but they were verbally abusive or
Hmm.
mentally, and they would want to leave, and then you try to help them, but then they just quickly defend them.
Yeah,
It's until you reach, I think, that point yourself, like you said, only you can make that, decision to do that, which you obviously finally made the decision that you needed to move on.
yeah.
So, and I would imagine that that's probably helped your self-confidence, your own self-image. That it kind of all comes into play. I mean, that takes a very strong person to be able to do all that.
As I said, I am a Christian and I relied on my faith in God. My faith brought me through this. If it wasn't for God, I don't think I would have been here, to be honest with you. I don't think that I would have been here because it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to deal with. And you know, sometimes you do need divine help. Can't handle it on your own. You do need divine help. And that's one of the lessons that I've learned. Another lesson that I've learned, I'm just gonna give you, as I said in my book, you can be happy again, bouncing back after infidelity, betrayal, and loss. I have a lot of lessons that I've learned. And as ladies, I'm gonna give you this. You have to be very careful who you invite to your home. As I said, my best friend, we go to each other. We will go to their home. They will come to our home. We were all very close. And sometimes when women come to your home, they look at what you have, and then they decide, oh, I want this for myself. And so you have to be so careful who you invite to your home, especially your female friends, because you don't know what they have going on in their mind sometimes. You don't know.
No, you don't. It's about setting those boundaries. You know,
Yeah. And some people
I've done that before, so I understand what you're saying.
some people can be so jealous. They're jealous of you. One of the things that I found out is that my best friend, I didn't know that until after the whole thing happened. Another friend of mine was saying that she kept saying that she wanted to be able to sign checks like I do. Because we had a checking account, and I would, when I go to the groceries or to the gas station, I would sign my check. And so I did not know that this woman was looking at me signing checks and being jealous of something like that. So I'm telling you, you have to be so careful.
Yeah. People can get some weird or different perceptions sometimes, and you don't even realize it, because you're just trying to be kind and be the open person that you are and caring, and sometimes it seems to take a whole nother turn.
I know, I know. I've learned it the hard way, trust me. And that is why everything that I've learned, I've put it in my book, so I don't want you to make the same mistakes.
Yes,
So it's up
and
to
I
you.
have read your book. It's a very good book. It has lots of tips and lessons learned, and I really commend you for being able to pour all that out and pour your heart out to people and put that on paper. That takes a lot to do that.
And it was very therapeutic for me. And I remember at some moments when I was writing this book that sometimes I would just have to step away, put down the laptop and the pen and paper, and I would just have to step away because, as you think back on, so you write in, things coming back to mind that happened, and sometimes it's like you're going through it again. So But I find it was very therapeutic for me in writing this book. I was able to get everything out, you know, and it's for a good purpose, to help other women out there. So I persevered, and it took me over 5 years, to be honest. I started and I stopped many times, but I've always knew that I wanted to write this book so I can help women out there. And I never give up. Another thing I would like to share. It doesn't matter how many years it might take. If you have a goal, don't give up. Never give up. If you keep going and you never give up, then eventually you will succeed. So that's what I learned in writing this book. And we need to love ourselves enough to think about, our own happiness and our own well-being, and focus on that so that we would be in a better position to help others.
Absolutely. Do you also do coaching with other women, or are you just solely using your book, or how else are you reaching out to
Okay.
these women?
Well, I know that sometimes when you're going through certain situations, it can be a very dark place, and you don't know what to do. It's like you're just going in circles, and you're not getting anywhere, and you're trying to understand with all the emotions. Sometimes you can't really think straight and so on, and sometimes it's very good that you talk to someone. So I am willing, and I've talked to a number of, since my book has gone out, I've spoken to a number of other people, and I've tried to be there to support them and help them. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot of people out there who's facing this infidelity and betrayal, and I've been trying to help them. I'm willing to talk to anybody to try and help them go through this. You can contact me on You Can Be Happy Again, figure 2 at gmail.com. If you contact me there, then I can give you my number, and then we can connect, and then we can take it from there. If you need somebody to talk to, it's always good to talk to somebody who have gone through that situation, and who can relate to what you're going through. So, you can contact me, and I'm willing to help. Eventually, I would like to do a course. That's one of the future plans that I have. I'd like to do a course that women can use, that can help them to find happiness again. And I'm telling you, I am so happy. I'm enjoying my single life. I buy what I want, I go when I want, I come back when I want. So I am enjoying my single life. And that's another thing, in finding happiness again, is accepting and, trying to enjoy where you are.
Yeah.
Don't look at what you don't have. Look at what you have. Where am I now? Try and enjoy where you are now.
And I think that's another good point, because a lot of times when you go through something traumatic, you need to take time to find yourself or figure out who you are, and not just jump and put yourself in, because then you could possibly put yourself in the same situation or another bad situation. But, I like the way you use that word relate, because, that's like I tell people, I lost my husband 18 years ago. When he died, and recently we lost my dad. I can say I relate to what my mother is going through, but I can't say I understand it, because the dynamics and the relationships are all different. And I think sometimes too often we throw out that word, I understand what you're going through. It's uniquely yours. You can relate. I don't think you can truly understand.
I agree with you. No two experiences are the same. And I would tell you something. I remember when I was going through, my drama, that this lady, this counselor from our church, she had called me, and I was telling her what I was going through. I have no energy to do anything. And thankfully, thanks to God, I had somebody a very good friend of mine, and she came and she stayed with me. And when I wasn't able to prepare dinner, prepare meals for my kids, she was able to do that and help me with other chores, and free of cost. She was just there trying to support and help me, which was good. But because sometimes, as I said, I had no energy to do anything. I get up and I would try to do something, and it's like I just can't. So depressed. I was so depressed. And while I was telling her what I was going through, then she told me that I was grieving. And to me, I always thought that grieving only had to do with death. Only at that point, when she told me, she said, Delia, you're grieving the loss of your husband and your best friend. And only at that point, I understood the connection. It is a great loss. My husband wasn't dead. My best friend wasn't dead. They were still there, but they were no longer a part of my life. So I'd lost them.
Right.
And that in itself, you go through the same grief. You go through the same stages of grief, until you get to the final one where you just accept what is. Right. And
that'd be more accurate to say that, because I had someone tell me that they understood what I was going through when I lost my husband. They got divorced. I tell you, I really just wanted to reach out and slap them, because to me it wasn't the same.
I will not. No, it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's
but
stages.
The process is basically the same. The process is the same, but the situation is not the same. But it is a loss.
It is a loss.
especially with the relationship that we had. If it was like a bad marriage where he used to abuse me and all these kind of things, then it might not have been so hard for me. But he was my partner for over 10 years, and to just suddenly lose that.
Yeah.
It was a real big loss for me. It was a real
almost out of time. So Delia, I really want to thank you for taking the time with sharing that with everybody. And we do have the QR code up, so hopefully you have captured that. You definitely want to get her book. It is a very good book. I have read it, and it goes through quite a bit more detail and lessons learned and signs and how she got through this. And I know we didn't have time to touch on all of it, so you'll definitely want to get her book to do that. But I want to thank you very much for spending your time with us this afternoon and reaching out to all those other ladies that need that same kind of help and support.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. It was a pleasure being here. And I want to leave with this quote, and it's one of the quotes that I have in my book. It says, being happy is a choice, so choose to be happy. I want you to choose to be happy and enjoy your life.
Thank you. That is a wonderful quote. And thank you again for being with us. So until next week, everybody, remember to be mindful, take care of yourself, and make sure you put yourself first. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.